In what was meant to be a somber, reflective interview on the BBC's flagship evening program, Prince Harry stunned not only the viewers but also Buckingham Palace. Sitting across from the veteran host in a well-lit studio in central London, Harry dropped a line that would soon echo across every royal hallway and media outlet worldwide. "I want reconciliation because I don't know how long my father has left." The silence in the studio was immediate, but outside it detonated like a bomb. Within minutes, hashtags surged on X, formerly Twitter, hashed Harry crossed the line, hashtag royal breach, had King still alive. Headlines from tabloids to broadsheets lit up. Did Harry just undermine his father's health for ratings? The BBC team, caught off guard, scrambled to clarify the context, claiming Harry was speaking emotionally, not medically. But it was too late. The soundbite had already been clipped, shared, and dissected around the globe. Royal protocol violated, never complain, never explain. Within hours, royal insiders expressed quiet outrage. The phrase violated perhaps the most sacred unwritten rule of the firm never complain, never explain. Sources inside Buckingham Palace confirmed to The Telegraph that King Charles III, while open to the idea of reconciliation, found the comment insensitive and unstrategic, particularly as the monarch has been facing serious but undisclosed health concerns. The palace had purposefully kept details minimal to avoid panic or speculation. Harry's remark unraveled that effort in a single breath, a palace on alert. By morning, aides from Clarence House to Kensington Palace had convened to formulate talking points, but notably no official statement was released. That silence was intentional. As one former aide put it, "This is what Harry never understood. In the monarchy, silence is more powerful than any rebuttal." Public reaction, sympathy, or strategy. The public split immediately. Some saw Harry's statement as the raw plea of a son desperate to reconnect with a distant father. Others interpreted it as a calculated guilt trip, an emotional ambush aired internationally, designed to pressure the king into a reconciliation under public scrutiny. The BBC was dragged into the controversy as well. Critics accused the network of exploiting the moment for ratings, while supporters argued it was Harry who crossed the line, not the media. Royal commentators react. Veteran royal biographer Angela Levin called the interview the most humiliating self-own Harry has inflicted on himself since Spare. Meanwhile, Omid Scobie, often seen as sympathetic to the Sussexes, notably refrained from defending Harry this time. That silence was telling, but what the public didn't know yet was that just 48 hours after that interview aired, 3 key representatives from the Sussex and royal camps met in secret. And what happened next, it wasn't just a PR maneuver. It was a trap. Barely 2 days after Prince Harry's controversial BBC appearance, London's Green Park, normally a quiet enclave for tourists and joggers, became the site of a suspiciously timed leak that ignited another royal storm. The photo that shouldn't exist. An exclusive set of paparazzi shots surfaced on a fringe gossip blog, showing 3 figures in deep conversation near the park's eastern gate. Meredith Main's head of communications for Archewell, Liam Maguire, a London-based PR consultant long affiliated with the Sussex brand, and Tobin Andrea, Deputy Private Secretary and Chief Communications Advisor to King Charles. They weren't supposed to be there, at least not together. This was meant to be a private off-grid strategy meeting to discuss a path forward, following Harry's media misstep. The goal set the tone for potential reconciliation messaging, but someone wanted the world to know it happened. Immediate fallout, the photos zoomed in, captioned with dramatic speculation, went viral in under 6 hours. Royal fans, Sussex critics, and media outlets pounced. How could a secret peace summit be so poorly concealed? Harry was furious. According to a close source quoted by The Times, the Duke of Sussex was livid beyond words and suspected someone from the palace intentionally orchestrated the leak to embarrass his team and delegitimize the idea of private reconciliation talks. Insiders close to Archewell were quick to point fingers at royal courtiers, claiming this was textbook sabotage, designed to paint Harry as chaotic and untrustworthy. But palace aides told a different story. A former palace staffer confided to ITV that meeting wasn't greenlit by William, and if William didn't approve it, then whoever exposed it may have done the future a favor. Was it a trap? Speculation exploded online. Some believed the meeting had been a legitimate effort to mend fences. Others suggested it was a PR maneuver leaked deliberately by one side to control the narrative. But which side? Several royal watchers pointed out the unusual presence of Tobin Andrea, who rarely meets off-site. His involvement suggested the king may have quietly approved the meeting. But if so, why wasn't William informed? William's absence speaks volumes. Multiple sources confirmed that Prince William was not involved in the meeting and was deeply displeased it occurred. One insider noted, William sees no path forward without trust, and right now, there's zero trust. His absence wasn't a scheduling conflict, it was a message. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's name never appeared in any part of the leaked documents or subsequent reports, fueling theories that she deliberately stayed back to avoid being seen as orchestrating anything behind palace doors. But if Harry thought the leak was the worst part, he was wrong, because just days later, a royal insider would speak to the press, and this time they weren't anonymous. Just when it seemed the Green Park leak had reached its saturation point, the story took another jarring turn, this time from within the palace itself. On Tuesday morning, the Telegraph dropped a piece with a byline that stunned many in the royal beat, an on-record quote from Sir Clive Alderton, Principal Private Secretary to King Charles. The king is prepared to listen, not to gamble. The message was calm, diplomatic, and unmistakably pointed. Sir Clive didn't name Harry, he didn't have to. The subtext was clear, whatever overture Harry believed he was making. It had not earned the monarchy's trust. The message behind the message, royal commentators immediately interpreted the statement as a calculated distancing tactic. Rather than rebuke Harry directly, which might play into his narrative, Charles's team opted for a more refined tactic, imply that Harry is still too unpredictable to engage with. But that wasn't the most shocking part. William breaks his silence privately, but sharply. Just hours later, the Times released a follow-up citing two separate sources within Kensington Palace, stating, Prince William made it clear to his father that any reconciliation with Harry would come at the cost of his own confidence in the institution. According to insiders, William believes Harry's repeated public breaches, including the BBC remark about the king's health, have pushed things beyond the point of return. One aide described it as the final insult. William's language, as reported, was described as measured but resolute, signaling that he sees any olive branch as a betrayal to both duty and family. Twist public opinion splits. Was William right? This internal rift bled swiftly into the public square. On social media, #Team William and #Team Harry started trending anew. Royalists praised William's loyalty to protocol, while others accused him of being cold and unyielding in the face of a brother's vulnerability. On Good Morning Britain, commentator Afua Adam challenged the palace's approach. Harry may be chaotic, but he's consistent. If the palace only listens when it's convenient, then what's reconciliation really worth? Meanwhile, allies of William emphasized that Harry has monetized private pain too many times, turning every family fracture into streaming content. Diversion, Meghan, missing again. Throughout this maelstrom, Meghan remained noticeably absent, publicly silent, with her team offering no comment. Some saw this as strategic restraint, others called it damage control. But while William's message seemed definitive, a new player was about to enter the field, one who knew Harry inside and out, before the crown, before the cameras, and they were ready to talk. When tensions between the brothers reached a public crescendo, few expected Major Tom Simons, Harry's former instructor at Sandhurst Military Academy, to weigh in. But in an exclusive interview with The Times, he broke nearly 2 decades of silence. With a brief but loaded statement, Prince Harry was at his best, when he was accountable to duty, not platform. That one line hit like a bomb. It wasn't just a subtle jab, it was a sharp contrast between two Harrys, the disciplined soldier who thrived under structure and the emotionally volatile Duke who critics say weaponizes vulnerability for headlines. Background: who is Major Simons? Simons trained Harry directly in 2005-2006. He was known for discretion, never having granted an interview about Harry until now. Palace insiders suggest his choice to speak wasn't coordinated by the firm, but it wasn't discouraged either. Simons' statement resurrected a chapter of Harry's life. Before Meghan, before Netflix, before spare a time when he was seen as honorable, even heroic. Public sentiment starts to shift. Talk radio exploded. Where did that Harry go became a trending question. On LBC, veteran host James O'Brien argued the Major didn't just throw shade, he opened the door to something darker, the idea that Harry lost his identity when he left the army. A clip from a 2013 BBC documentary resurfaced, showing Harry laughing with wounded veterans, clearly grounded, clearly fulfilled. This sudden flashback to a more focused, more grounded Harry contrasted painfully with the man making teary-eyed declarations about his father's mortality on primetime television. Twist 2, Meghan's former publicist speaks just as media outlets were dissecting Simons's, quote, a new voice cut through the fog. Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan, Meghan's ex-publicist. She appeared on Talk TV saying Harry doesn't see the difference between storytelling and confession anymore. That's the real danger. According to Gina, Meghan once warned her inner circle that Harry's impulse to overshare could blow up bridges we haven't even crossed yet. Escalation, trust collapses on both sides. Now even allies began suggesting Harry had become the architect of his own exile, not because of malice, but because of a compulsive need to narrate every injury. It wasn't just a breach of protocol anymore. It was an existential breach of trust. Fallout hits. Archewell reports from Variety suggested that internal morale at Archewell was dropping. One insider described the workplace as directionless and noted that several key staffers had left quietly in Q2 2025. As the storm clouds gathered over Archewell, a new angle emerged, not about Harry, not about William, but about Kate. And her silence until now had been more powerful than any speech. For weeks, as public discourse raged and headlines spiraled, Kate Middleton, Princess of Wales, remained silent. No quotes, no photos, no leaks. But then, during a rare and unexpected video message recorded for a Children's Cancer Foundation gala, she ended with a chillingly gentle note. In the end, it's not our words that define us. It's what we choose to remain silent about. The message was not directed at Harry, not overtly, but Royal Watchers' seasoned PR experts and even social media consensus quickly decoded it. Kate had spoken. Finally, Hook Reaction Public turns to Kate. Clips of the video went viral within hours. On TikTok, hashtag Kate Speaks jumped to 14M views overnight. Commentators from BBC to BuzzFeed labeled it an indirect masterpiece. The core question: was it forgiveness, condemnation, or something far more calculated? A final PR stroke that closed the chapter without raising a voice. For Harry, it felt like a wall had been built, according to a close friend quoted anonymously in the Daily Mail. That line gutted him more than any newspaper headline, because it came from her. Harry had hoped for reconciliation not just with his father, but with William and Kate. But now the public saw her serenity as a contrast to his turbulence. Calm versus chaos, dignity versus damage control, archetype payoff, the quiet queen versus the exiled rebel. In dramatic archetype terms, Kate had fully embodied the silent ruler, the one who does not seek drama but wins by withholding reaction. Meanwhile, Harry had slipped deeper into the lost son, narrating pain without pause, burning sympathy as fuel. Closing the circle, insiders report that following the Kate video, the palace instructed all departments to officially stop any ongoing reconciliation efforts. No more communication liaisons. No more private summits. Silence from here on would be the final strategy. It was over, at least for now. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. Was Kate's quiet power a shield or a sword? Is Harry truly a victim of emotional repression or the architect of his own humiliation?